One of the sites that we have recently developed a new application is called Tracking Post-Secondary Outcomes. And it's pretty exciting. Well, we think. It's on our main page. And the link is here under high school to college, or P16. You can see it here, Tracking Post-Secondary Outcomes. So on this site, the top shows you the options that you have for drilling down into data. The front page looks a little undynamic, but it's actually a pretty important page because it defines all of the data elements. So once you start digging into and you start looking at the images that will communicate the data to you, you may start to wonder, well, did they include so-and-so, or who is the actual population that they're communicating in these data? So you can go back to this front page and it'll have all the definitions there. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is enrollment.
You might want to use the pen. I'll just select this one. There.
And it's loading. It's thinking about it. The nice thing about this dashboard is that it does populate relatively quickly. It's it responds more quickly when you're on your laptop, but this also you can use on an iPad. I don't know that you would get much use out of it on a phone. I haven't tried yet, but I have seen other people use it on an iPad. I will say that we have to use background data communication software that is old school so that anybody can use it. We have to make sure that the data is available to people who have older versions of computers. So you may actually find on your site that you need to hit this little cracked paper. This little cracked piece of paper tells IE or whatever browser you're in to go to compatibility mode. And you'll know that you'll need to do that if you try to go to one of these drop downs, and if it doesn't work, it's because you need to go to compatibility mode. So just an FYI. So on this page, you have an option of choosing a graduation year, your region. On this site, we use ESC regions. When you look at data that's communicating higher education, just higher education data, then and it's regional, we'll show you our regions. But here we're using the ISD regions. We also, in this particular tool, you can also drill down to districts. So, for example, we'll choose the most recent graduating class we have on here is 2011. And the reason why there's going to be a pretty long data lag on this side is because we're tracking them into enrollment. So we have to wait another extra year to get their enrollment data. Anybody who would like for me to look at their region?
You can look at 7.
Okay. Yeah, would you want me to? Let's look at the region first before we think about pulling up an ISD. Do 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 do. So we'll talk about this in a minute because we're going to show you this dashboard and then we're going to show you the data that's used to populate it. But here you'll have enrolled and not confirmed enrollment. And not confirmed enrollment means a number of things, but it includes those who did not enroll. But it's not limited to those who did not enroll. It also includes people we didn't find. So your region is about half and half in enrollment and not enrollment for the graduating class of 2011. Most of your students went to a public 2-year. Most of them were full-time. And this is a nice place for you to look at when you're talking to your district partners about how they should advise students or how they should ask students to think about higher ed, because at the 2-year, a higher proportion of students are part-time versus if they go to a 4-year. And part of that's just because students have to tailor their education to what works for them, and that's okay. But it's interesting, you'll often see this, or you'll almost always see this, that 2 years have a greater proportion of part-time students.
One thing I want to add to that too, Ginger, is that when we track full-time and part-time, we only track it from the first time the student enrolls. So we talk about first time full-time or first time part-time. because student patterns change so much. If we looked at university students and said, at any time, if they're less than 12 hours, we're going to put them in the part-time pod, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
So basically, if you come in first time, full time, that's how you're tracked in our system, or first time, part time. And what we especially notice at community colleges, you do get a lot of students who start full time and then taper off going on. But you have the reverse too.
So on this particular site, we also have broken down by demographics, ethnicity, gender, and economic status. But again, you can also drill down by district.